Welcome to Double Drivel, an NBA podcast. Hello and welcome to a Quickie episode of Double Drivel. Normally, we are a weekly podcast offering a fan's perspective on the news and issues surrounding the NBA. Thank you for joining us. My name is Greg, and I am joined as always by my co-host JT. You can find us on Twitter at Double Dribblers or email us at doubledrivelpodcast@gmail.com. JT, what's going on and what brought upon this special episode today?
They screwed with our All-Star game, Greg. They're changing it up on us. We just couldn't, we couldn't not talk about it.
No, I felt it was important also to bring it up because it's something that we love. It's something that we grew up with. I know you have great memories of, I'm sure, the dunk contest and the three-point shootout. Do you not remember the good old days of us sitting around and watching those when we were much younger?
I do, and I remember, I was always so curious to see what the jerseys looked like this year, and it's actually kind of how I was introduced to different cities throughout the country because, every year it's in a different city, and it just gave you a good look at that part of a particular state and stuff. And so I have a lot of great memories. And the East is just too shitty now to put up a legitimate team. All the good players are in the West. They changed it up.
I think it's a little presumptuous to say that they don't have the players to support East versus West right now. I mean, if they could make that call next year, after maybe it was a horrible failure this year, I think maybe that would have been the way to go. But people rise to the occasion. There's going to be new stars. There's going to be people that play better than we expect. And some of them are going to be in the East. So I don't know. I think it's a little presumptuous and a little crappy to go with this format this year. I don't know if I like the change at all.
Greg, do you ever like change?
I don't. That's simply, I enjoy things as they are. Okay, and cool. If you're changing them for the better, maybe I'll pay attention. I'll come around. But in the meantime, you got to win me a little bit. And this is just a big change, which I feel more than anything is for manufactured drama. These captains that they've set up, this whole scenario, who are going to be the captains, JT? Who you tell me? One is going to be LeBron. Who's going to be in the West?
Yeah, if there's anything as sure as the sun rising, LeBron James will be the captain of the East. And in the West, I would think Steph Curry, right?
And it could be Durant. I mean, Durant's the second best player in the league. I mean, I don't, if that's arguable, maybe. But and LeBron will be representing what I guess used to be the East. Let's not forget, because it's not the East and the West anymore. It'll be Team LeBron, and we'll just say Team Curry. That's fine. Right. So who's picking Kyrie Irving? Because I'll tell you right now, I would almost put money on the fact that LeBron James, he is not picking Kyrie Irving if he has anything to do with picking his team. What do you think?
I don't know. I think this is a big ingredient as to why they chose to do it this way, because there's a lot of subplots to all this. A lot of former teammates will cross paths, current teammates. What will happen if for example, if two teammates who are all-stars, one doesn't choose the other one? I would think that LeBron would pick Kyrie late in the selection of his team. And perhaps I'm so curious as to do the captains of the team get to decide who plays when, or is that still the coach's responsibility? Anyway, what if LeBron picks Kyrie and just benches him, just doesn't even let him fucking play? That would be amazing.
That would be so great. But I mean, there's always a chance he could not get picked out of the active five, because I believe the players only pick 5 or 6 people, and then the rest is selected by coach or some other fashion. I don't think that they pick the whole team up and down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they'll pick the top 5 or whatever, and the drama is there. And that's one thing, you can mock me for not liking change, and I'll take that all day. But I don't like change, especially for a reason like this, where, like I said, this is just manufactured drama because they know. We don't forget that it's just last year, the same situation that Kyrie and LeBron are in. It was Durant and Westbrook. And they can rekindle that whole thing again because they could be either on the same team or on opposite teams, and they love when they're playing against each other. So there's just so much here for the NBA to work with, and just for the on-air stuff and for the promos and just all of it. I mean, we know why they're doing it, but I don't think it's going to make the game any better, to you? And I think that's the important part.
If these guys don't play defense, like, it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters. All this shit we're talking about, if they don't play defense, it's still going to be like a 200-point game to a 195-point game like it was last year.
I don't mind the high score. I mean, if they played a little bit of defense and they still end up with a really high score, I don't mind that, because the Warriors get a really high score. So the score is not what bothered me so much. I mean, 200 is just ridiculous. I mean, you shouldn't be anywhere near that. But I mean, if it got up to 100
points, Greg, is too many.
That's way
too many
many
points.
Yes, if it got around 150, how would you be about that? Can I sell you 150? How about that?
If they play defense the third and fourth quarter and somehow mustered up 150
They're never
points,
playing it for 2 quarters. You maybe get the fourth quarter out of them. You maybe get half of the fourth quarter. You might get the full fourth quarter.
There just has to be some teeth to this thing, some grit. It's got to have some competitive edge, and when the score is that high, it just loses it. The higher the score goes, it's just it gets a little thin.
They could make it like a monetary thing where the guys get a good chunk of change if they win. I mean, that could make it worth it. But other than that, I don't know what they could possibly do.
Yeah, you got to. Employees need to be incentivized, and I don't know how you incentivize these guys who are making like upwards of $30-40 million a year already, other than like what's another million or two. I don't think it like moves the dial too much for them.
So what are your feelings about the other parts of the All-Star weekend? Like, they have the 3-point shootout, which again, we used to love when we were younger, and the dunk contest, of course. And they have the now defunct skills competition. They replaced that with some other thing last year. And like, it's just always that they're searching for another thing for that night. And there's the celebrity game that they do. And then there's the rookie game versus the second year players. And it's a whole big thing that everyone plays harder, and all the other events are better than the actual All-Star game itself, which is sad because, like we've said, it just would take a little defense, and that game would be great too.
The only thing that I really care about is the dunk competition, and that shit has been pretty stale too lately. Zach LaVine, fucking amazing. Aaron Gordon's fucking amazing. But there needs to be some like new kind of dunks. You can't tell me in the past 10 years we haven't seen like a flip dunk or something just insane. But maybe it's the same thing. Maybe like that takes time, and when are these guys supposed to develop those like particular creative skills? I imagine your coach doesn't like to see you like doing crazy dunks during team practices.
And I mean, the dunk contest could be a thing where, it had its moment in time and it's over and it moved on. I mean, in the time it was coming on with sneakers and with, guys.
No, fuck that. They're not moving on from the dunk contest. No way.
The dunk contest for a couple of years didn't get good numbers either. I mean, that's just a thing that people are not tuning in for. So the 3-point shootout, I believe, is still popular. But, I mean, the dunk contest is something that if it doesn't change, I bet you it doesn't stick around. I mean, I'll almost guarantee it. They asked LeBron to do it last year because they need star power. They need something. And he didn't do it. But they need star power. That's the only way that they can save that in any sort of way, because everyone avoids it. Nobody wants to do it. It's a bunch of guys you never heard of doing dunks they miss most of, and it's just very anticlimactic.
Joe Ingles will tear that shit up, son.
Yeah, there you go. Joe Ingles. What's Joe's nickname?
Some call him Slow-Mo Joe. Some call him Sloppy Joe.
There you go. Again, I will tell you that the Utah Jazz have the best nicknames in the league. I'll say it all day. So, do you think they're going to mess with our beloved playoffs next? I mean, it's one thing to mess with the All-Star game where it's just kind of it's an event that doesn't mean anything, but the playoffs mean a lot. And when do you think they're going to mess with that?
I think they're thinking about it because the G League, which is the NBA's AAA league, they're kind of like developmental league, is beginning a new kind of policy this year with how they organize their playoffs. And rather than it being top teams from each conference, they're doing, I believe, the winner of each division, which is like a smaller collection of teams. And then after the division winners, it's just best record. So I think they're trying it out. And if it is something that they feel yields positive results, they may give it a go in the NBA, which is something people have been talking about for a while. Because it's stupid, Greg. It's shitty that teams that are obviously better in the West are not making the playoffs, where you see teams in the East that are making the playoffs that would get smoked by these teams in the West who aren't.
Well, but with that contention, everyone knew that the Warriors had pretty much smoked the Cavaliers last year, and they still played the playoffs. They still played the entire season, and it ended up being the Cavaliers and the Warriors, and they got not really smoked, but, they beat them pretty handily. So basketball's pretty predictable at some points, and this, I think, is definitely one of the points where it is predictable. So the Warriors are going to dominate, and it's how does the league deal with everything else beyond that? So I don't know if the answer is just making a generic 16 teams. I think that I don't know. I think that devalues the East in a lot of ways, because it'll come to the West at some point. Everything is secular, so it'll come around. It'll get them, and then they won't have teams in. So I think it's just a short-term interest thing. And if I could be a little selfish, I like having my team just barely make the playoffs every year also. I think it helps teams get free agents. I think if there's less teams from the East making the playoffs, I think that that's going to hurt the East even more, because they're not going to be able to attract free agents because nobody wants to play in a losing team. So it's going to be hard if you repeatedly don't make the playoffs to make the playoffs. It's hard with that right now, but if your chances of being able to do that went down, that would be even worse.
True.
So that's all I got. I mean, like I said, the Hornets are not winning any titles anytime soon, but it is nice to see them in the playoffs, and I'm not going to endorse any sort of rule that's going to take them out. And again, I don't like change, so it it will, I hope, stay as it is. So moving on. We had one last topic on the episode tonight, and just a quick one. It's Daryl Morey, and he is making a musical. Now, Daryl Morey is the general manager for the Houston Rockets, and I'm not sure. I thought it was in The Onion when I saw it initially, but it was not. It was a real story, and he's writing a musical. What do you think of this?
You want your general manager kind of like paying attention to basketball, Greg, right? And you don't want him writing scores and like arranging the low brass section on an off-Broadway show. At least I would think, but I've never been a general manager.
No, but I mean, he's a guy who does a great job at his job. He's very intense. He's very thorough, and he's big into the analytics. So I would just think that he would be devoting a lot of his time to that, which he seems to be. So this is the kind of thing maybe I'd say for after the career, Daryl. Just put it out there. I mean, people maybe take it a little seriously, or a little more seriously, if you're not an active general manager, because it just leads to so many headlines and things. It just makes you look like a clown when maybe you're not. This could be a great musical. Everything good could be there, but it just doesn't come across because, people just make a joke out of it because of who he is and the position he has.
I could see maybe there's a little, and I'm reaching here, Greg, but as a general manager, you're picking and choosing, you're arranging your team a certain way based on balance and perception of the thing as a whole. Someone plants a seed. Hey, dude, you should write a musical.
Oh, you think he's just feeling it? You think he's like twinkle toning around the office, just feeling the team he created, and he's like, "Yeah,
I do.
Now
I totally do.
I'm gonna make music to this."
I can arrange. I bring people together, you know, like a little this, a little that, you know. It's a dance, you know, it's all a dance, and I can orchestrate it.
Love it. Complete speculation. There's nothing I love more on earth.
No chance. No, not a shred of evidence or fact in that.
Yeah, and that's, completely unnecessary. So, all right. Well, good job, JT.
You too, my friend.
All right, we're going to be back next week with another episode. And in the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Double Dribblers, or you can email us at doubledrivelpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Thanks for listening, and until next week, see you on the internet.